Welcome. I'm Gilda Martinez-Alba, the Assistant Dean, and I'm here to talk to you today about structured literacy for English learners with dyslexia. So, let's see how much you know about structured literacy. What is missing from structured literacy in this breakdown? Phonology, sound symbol association, morphology, syntax, and semantics. Can you guess? Syllable instruction, yes. So these are the components of structured literacy, which include the importance of guiding principles that are systematic, cumulative, explicit, and diagnostic. So let's look at each piece of that. So in terms of phonology, what does that mean? It means segmenting words into phonemes, such as the word pat. How can you segment that? P-at. Rhyming, clapping to syllables, and clapping to words in a sentence. English learners will need more time to practice these. So keep that in mind when you're comparing your students, that English learners definitely always need more time. Sound symbol association or phonics. Knowing that the sounds can be connected to letters. Reading, going from the visual letters to the auditory, the actual reading. Spelling, going from the auditory to the visual. English learners can really benefit from using visuals to help with comprehension. So, for example, this phonics cue card can help an English learner because it does have visuals to go right along with it. So if you look at this blog, I have found as I was doing my research in this area, there are many blogs that are very helpful. So this Make, Take, and Teach blog is where I got the phonics cue card, but it also has other things that you might find helpful as well. In terms of syllable instruction, what does that mean? It means it's a unit with one vowel sound, oral or written. So there are 6 syllable types. We have the closed, such as in the word pat. The A is in the middle. The vowel consonant E, made. The open, where the E is out and open. Consonant LE, so there we go, as an example in candle. The R controlled vowel, as in far. And the vowel pair or team, EE, OA, AY, OA, such as in coat. And here, again, we have visuals that you might find helpful with Sarah Snippet's website. So she has a nice explanation about what does it look like for using syllable division rules. And then she also has different examples that teachers can benefit from and students can as well. So what does that mean for your English learners? Well, your English learners can use the VAKT to help them remember, because it's important for them to get the information in more than one way. So just reading it is not enough. Just listening to it is not enough. But integrating the different ways with VAKT will help them remember. Morphology is the smallest unit of meaning. Base or root words, such as the word boot in reboots. I always say with my computer, when in doubt, reboot. So yes, reboots, prefixes, pointing them out, suffixes. And so here we have a website that provides different root words, and it talks about morphology to teach vocabulary. English learners can build on their vocabulary knowing root words. So with the root words, they can really, see how they can know now multiple words just by having building a knowledge base of their root words. Syntax, which is word order that provides meaning, including grammar. So for example, to the park we are going, as opposed to the correct we are going to the park. And I know a lot of teachers look at Pinterest for different visuals. And so I found this particular visual on Pinterest, but you can something to consider when you are looking for visuals to help with your instruction for your English learners. Think about Pinterest. They have a lot of different things. And English learners might need extra time with this, especially if their native language uses different syntax or very different syntax than English. Semantics. This refers to the meaning of language, and instruction should always include comprehension of written language. So here I have a nice short video on YouTube about semantics. And I just want to share with you the first couple seconds. I did not create the video.
Mapping from English into clear statements and logic is not straightforward. Let's look at just a few examples. Even simple words can have multiple meanings. For example, consider the word hot. We could say the chili is hot, meaning spicy, or we could say the chili is hot, meaning temperature high. And logic will never use the same predicate to mean two different things.
So there you go. Look on YouTube to provide visuals once again to your English learners. That will really help them with comprehension. And then the guiding principles for this structured literacy instruction. It's so important for it to be systematic and cumulative, right? That there's a logical order starting with the easiest and building to the more complicated concepts. That instruction is explicit. The concepts need to be taught rather than assuming that students are going to learn them on their own. And that the teaching is diagnostic. It's ongoing, informal assessments that help provide instruction for students to master the content with automaticity. And once again, Sarah Snippets has a nice webpage with information about that and ideas and different examples. Something else to consider with your English learner is the importance of establishing rapport and bringing in their students' culture. Because if teachers really show care and concern and interest in a student with their culture and have established this rapport, they're more likely to be interested in learning with the teacher. And that goes across reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills. So if, let's say, they are really interested in soccer because in their country soccer is very popular, that might be something that the teacher can talk about to bring in different readings and writing and etc. about soccer. That's just a for example. The Orton-Gillingham approach, I'm sure you've heard of that. It works on reading, writing, and spelling. It's been around since the 1930s, and it was created by Samuel Orton, which was a neuropsychiatrist and pathologist, and Anna Gillingham, who worked in gifted education and was a psychologist. Many programs have been developed from this philosophy, such as the Wilson reading system. So what does the Orton-Gillingham approach look like? Well, it's multisensory, right? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile. It uses phonetic and alphabetic, such as the sound symbol connections in sequential order, right? So building on the order. It's synthetic and analytic. Synthetic meaning connecting phonemes to graphemes, and analytic meaning breaking a word into parts. And it's structured. Instruction is provided in a logical order, building on previous instruction. So here I have a link to a website that has different ideas for using the Orton-Gillingham approach. Ding, ding, ding. So the Orton-Gillingham approach is also sequential, right? Building from simple to complex concepts. It's repetitive to help build word recognition, reading fluency, and reading comprehension, which is really good for English learners. And it's cumulative. It's teaching new skills in order once concepts are mastered. And again, all of my visuals here and the PowerPoint have websites associated with the visual, so it provides additional information that you might want to look at later. The Orton-Gillingham approach is cognitive. Students learn to apply language rules to become fluent readers, accurate spellers, and creative writers. It's diagnostic. It's ongoing assessments. Uses ongoing assessments to monitor progress. right? Because as teachers, we want to see how the students are learning so that we can continue the instruction. And it's prescriptive. Assessments drive instruction. And here on this website, the Literacy Nest, it talks about the different kinds of things that you might want to have in your binder, so to speak, of how you are going to be using the approach, how you're going to be building with your students. There's also an online academy that you might be interested in looking at, that you could become certified, and it has a lot of different tips there too. And most importantly, always go to the horse's mouth, which is the actual Orton Gillingham website, which also has a multitude of information for you, such as multisensory examples. So this one is actually from the Pride Reading program, but multisensory examples, which are commonly used in Orton Gillingham, include writing in sand or shaving cream, tracing clay letters, and arm tapping. And it's so important to be clear when explaining these different examples and model the activities for English learners. Because if, for example, you said you're going to be writing in sand and they've never seen that, they would really have no idea what you mean unless you model for them. So of course you would model for all students, but for your English learners, especially important. The Wilson Reading System. Many schools now are using foundations, which you might be using in your school, might be very familiar with. So I think one of the most important things to remember also is that when students using their native language, it can impact how they sound. So keep that in mind when you're assessing students, because it might not be that they don't know the word or cannot read the word. It might be because of the language that it sounds like they're reading it incorrectly. So that's something to keep in mind. And the Wilson Reading System, what does it do? It teaches the structure of English, which of course is helpful for English learners. It uses structured literacy. It's multi-sensory. Based on the Orton Gillingham, teaches students to become fluent readers and writers. It uses small groups, 4 max or one-on-one. And for English learners, that's really very helpful because it's a lot less threatening to do something in a small group as opposed to a larger group. And usually the lessons, there's 3 blocks in each lesson. Each block is about 20 to 30 minutes, and they recommend 2 lessons minimum per week. And something I think is important too is to bring in the parents and tell them what are the kinds of things that you're doing in class and how can they support them. Because parents don't necessarily know what are the kinds of things that they could be doing at home. So the more that you can involve them, the better, so that they know, how to build on what you're working on. So thank you for coming and seeing what I had to say about structured literacy. As I mentioned, there are a lot of different websites on this PowerPoint that you should definitely look at to get further information.